with Islam leaving, I mean, I'm a big fan. I think a lot of fans wanted to watch, Topuria fight Islam Makhachev. Are you as heartbroken maybe that he doesn't get to do that right away, or are you just as excited perhaps that he's going up to welterweight? Because there is a big log jam at welterweight too.
It's interesting when you talk about Islam Makhachev's legacy because a win over Ilia Topuria would be big. But there's also some sort of downside when you're the bigger man fighting the smaller man, and that's part of the reason why Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski maybe never happened. Certainly the calendar never aligned, but for DP, there isn't a ton of intrinsic value in beating a smaller man, So I'm not heartbroken. Charles Do Bronx Oliveira is probably the most relevant fighter of my time with the UFC. And he's fighting Ilia Topuria for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. So perhaps it sounds hyperbolic from the guy who's calling the fight, but gosh, man, I mean, that is a Super Bowl type fight. And I love how seemingly discounted Charles Oliveira is based upon either the betting line or the stylistic nature of the fight or Charles's penchant for maybe getting hit at times. I can't wait. I wish I got to just watch like everybody else, man. I mean, it's a mega fight. I'd heard rumblings that maybe these guys would meet even without the title on the line, and it ends up being for the title, and we're all the better for it. I understand a segment of the fan base wants the promotion to strike while the iron's hot, and you did have a super fight on the horizon. But until Islam or somebody speaks, we'll maybe never know as to why we didn't, get that fight. But I just don't know that. I think Islam was sick of fighting featherweights.
Yep. Of course, a couple defenses against Volk there, and then fighting Hanato Moicano at short notice. As we race in the last 10 minutes here, I mean, Justin Gaethje better, and it seems like he was definitely in the mix for a potential title shot or a title eliminator shot. Were you at all surprised, John, that the UFC went ahead after, Islam had gone, that the UFC went ahead and announced Topuria versus Charles for the title instead of perhaps, running back that Oliveira Gaethje fight and then giving Topuria maybe a tune-up against somebody?
Well, life isn't fair, right? And we don't live in a straight meritocracy. And if we did, Movsar Evloev, who is 9-0 in the UFC, would be getting a featherweight championship opportunity, even though he has 9 wins by decision, right? That is the opposite problem for Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is the most entertaining fighter in the sport. Charles Oliveira is right there with him alongside, and I think that's part of the issue, right? The presence of a Charles Oliveira. But Justin Gaethje, after the BMF win over Dustin Poirier, could have fought for the undisputed title, and he instead, did the Max Holloway thing, and then the Rafael Fiziev fight. There was a stepping up component to that fight, so I can understand why Justin Gaethje would be bitter. He has every right to be bitter, but we don't necessarily live in a straight meritocracy. And had Islam Makhachev stuck around at 55 and demanded that he fight a true 55er, they might have done Makhachev versus Gaethje and had Topuria Oliveira fight in a non-title fight as the co-main event. And I think that was a very likely course of action at one point in time. So I think part of what worked against Gaethje was the fact that the Islam Makhachev fight, which would have been a fresh matchup, unlike Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, went away when Islam seemingly vacated, which he is about to do, and moved up to 170 pounds to face Jack Della Maddalena. So there were a lot of factors at play. If I were Justin, I would just want a guaranteed shot at the winner of that lightweight fight, and hopefully that is an opportunity afforded him.
Yeah, totally possible either way. Potentially more likely, if it is Ilia. And on that note, stylistically, between Charles and Ilia, I mean, Charles has the size advantage, of course, but what factors do you feel like are working in Ilia's favor ahead of this fight at UFC 317?
Speed plus timing equals power, but even if Ilia Topuria didn't need that equation, he has natural power. He just has a lot of God-given ability that he has harnessed. Topuria's fight IQ, his footwork. I am blown away by him, and I am amateurish when it comes to my eyeballs watching mixed martial arts. My contemporaries, if I can call them that, Kenny Florian, Daniel Cormier, Dominic Cruz, these guys are effectively blown away by Ilia Topuria, and they almost deadpan in a simplistic way when they're talking about him because his boxing is just so good. His jiu-jitsu is elite as well, right? He's a grappler first, but Charles can do all of these things as well. So even though on all the years of footage we have of Charles Oliveira, yes, we have seen him get hit and finished. We have seen him rally through adversity when it looks like he is going to be finished, But clearly odds makers, the betting public, at least to this point in time, and a lot of pro fighters feel like Ilia Topuria is going to find the button at some point in time. I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm super super stoked. And one last question on this fight, Charles. Watching that 5-rounder against Michael Chandler, right? Like he certainly looked very dominant. Something like 12 minutes of control time. But then the tables turned in round 5, and Michael Chandler had a bit of a run. I mean, it's kind of tough to evaluate that fight, especially seeing how Chandler fared a little bit against Paddy Pimblett. I see some fans suggesting that there's maybe a lack of killer instinct on Charles's part with 2 decisions in a row. Maybe I'm buying into that theory a little bit. But did you see anything in that Chandler fight that makes you suggest that Charles is not the man that he always is?
No. Would you like me to be more long-winded about it? No. Michael Chandler's a dog. I mean, he tried. I feel like he tried, His game is so hard. No, I don't see any shine off of Charles Oliveira's game. I still think he can be the absolute best at 155 pounds. And ask Justin Gaethje, who's the hardest hitting man that he's ever been hit by. Do Bronx.